Finding your people is one thing, but real belonging begins when you let yourself be seen. And that's where the good life begins. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave, and welcome back to the Good Life Lab with me, Dr. Dave. And we are in the midst of this series, 21-day series, that I'm calling From Languishing and Lost to a Good Gay Life. And we're on day 12 right now. And that's all about, I'm following this COMPASS acronym that I've developed out of my own experience and working with clients as a therapist and coach. A couple of days ago, we got started on this Compass Point Allies, Tribe, and Accountability. We're taking it a little bit deeper today. So a little bit of research to give some context and support for what I'm talking about comes from neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman. He shows that our brains are literally wired for connection. The same neural regions that register physical pain also light up when we experience social rejection or isolation, which means belonging isn't a luxury, it's biological. It's a necessity. Lieberman's work suggests that social connection is just as basic to human survival as food and shelter. So this truth has hit home with me, for me, many times throughout my life. I can think of some of the projects I mentioned that I did to help me make greater connection. I was going through this period of extreme isolation as I was coming out and leaving my faith community because they weren't accepting me for who I was. And so very, very isolated. And thankfully, my family was there for me, and I had some friends that were there, but I kind of withdrew within myself during that time and felt the implications of not being connected to other people and how that affected me emotionally, but also so physically. And so when I was at my most vulnerable, leaning into who I was at 40 as a gay man, I felt the sting of rejection from some friends. However, that led me to find my chosen family. So on day 12 of our Languishing and Lost to a Good Gay Life series, we're going to talk about how to move from some basic human connection to real relational closeness, from just having social circles to chosen family. And one way you can do this that I've mentioned before is to join the gay men's group coaching waitlist that I have on my website. I'll provide a link below, but I'm developing a wait list for people to walk through these things together. And I hope that becomes something I can do consistently from this time on. So please look at that as an option for how to build greater connection if you're feeling isolated. As we get into this topic in more depth, there is a difference between just basic connection and human closeness. So I'm trying to draw that distinction. There is research to show that even making connection with somebody in the grocery store, like the clerk or somebody, your waiter at the restaurant, has benefits to boost your mental health and well-being. That's one thing. So there are benefits to basic human connection, but to get the full benefits of boosting your well-being and finding greater meaning, we do need even more significant, more authentic closeness. And so that's what we're going for in this compass point of allies, tribe, and accountability. Relational depth is really about being known, being seen, those moments when you drop your guard and share something real. And I've been in a number of groups over the last week, facilitating groups really around mental health and well-being. I find greater connection in those groups, even as a facilitator. If I'm able to reveal a little bit about my life and what's going well or what's not, that brings me a little bit closer to connection with those other people. And I think facilitates reciprocal authenticity on their part. If you're able to kind of be vulnerable, that helps to bring about vulnerability in the group. So that's what I'm talking about, kind of going a little bit deeper, finding those people in your tribe that you can trust enough to take a few more steps to reveal something about yourself, which also allows other people to trust you and to reveal more about themselves as well. And so it's interesting to see in decades of research that this kind of vulnerability builds trust really faster than anything else. One of the most famous studies in this area that I love to refer to for myself and for clients I have is from psychologists Arthur and Elaine Aron. And they created the 36 questions that lead to love. So you've probably maybe seen this around. It became more of a faddish thing a while ago. The New York Times wrote an article about it. Originally, Arthur and Elaine wanted to test if two strangers could create real intimacy in a single conversation. And as it turns out, they can. But why? Why is that? Because authentic mutual vulnerability, not small talk, is what creates real connection. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of questions from this exercise, this 36 questions that lead to love or closeness. And they actually break it up into sets of greater vulnerability. So set one of the questions from that is, what would constitute a perfect day for you? And the idea with this exercise is you ask the question of your partner and let them respond. You also respond to the same question, and then you switch who's asking the question. That's kind of the process. And we'll get into some of the specific details around how to use this exercise to create greater vulnerability in your friendships. So here's an example of another question from the second set. The question is there something that you've dreamed of doing for a long time, and why haven't you done it? Here's an example from this third set of questions, which goes a little bit deeper. Tell your partner what you like about them. Be honest, saying things that you might not say to someone you've just met. So it feels a little bit more risky to ask that question or to kind of respond to that question. Just to give you an example of I've actually done this with my partner and with groups of friends. And with my partner, I don't do this as much anymore. I'd like to get back to it, but on trips and road trips, I would bring a set of questions different from these and just things to kind of get to know each other. And we take the time as we're driving to ask each other these questions and respond to each other. But this one time we were traveling and we took a break for lunch or dinner, I think it was. And I think I surprised him with these questions. And I just said, hey, can we go through these together? And sometimes he doesn't, when it's more of a surprise, he doesn't like that, but I was able to get him to respond to some of the questions. And we just took time to walk through these 3 sets. And like the instructions will show, you just take the time to listen, focus on when you ask the question. You're not trying to think of what you're going to say. You just sit there and listen. And then you have a chance to also respond. And you take your time. You try to be present with each other while you're listening to each other. And with my partner in this instance, I can remember feeling a little bit maybe at odds with him or not as close to him on the road trip. And I can recall that definitely going through these questions definitely helped to adjust some of that feeling of not feeling close. I felt much more connected to him during that time or while we were doing that and even after. So I know this does help to bring you closer to your friends and partners and family. I hope you can use this tool to facilitate more vulnerability and closeness. Another way I've used this is with a group of guy friends. So sometimes during the wintertime, I'll have people over like once a month for those winter months just to make sure we're connecting. And I took these guys through these series of questions. So every month we'd have a different question to respond to. And again, it facilitates going a little bit deeper than just checking in or talking about the events of the week. It helps you get to know each other, but also risk some of that vulnerability as you're talking. So I highly recommend this practice of the 36 questions that lead to love. Something I've learned in all my years of practice as a therapist, as a coach, but also in my own relationships, that a closeness and vulnerability and intimacy usually doesn't just happen. It doesn't magically happen. Even if you're drawn to somebody kind of romantically, or you're just attracted to somebody. I've been attracted to guys, and as I get to know them, that attraction dissipates. So even if you feel drawn to somebody initially, romantically, that feeling can dissipate over time, and usually does. And so we need to do things to help foster that connection over time. And this is one exercise I think that can help with that. But again, if you're kind of lacking or looking for that intimacy and want that modeled or want to kind of try to build those friendships in a safe environment, I'm starting a wait list for gay men to begin to connect. It's a virtual group, but it can be a step in that direction. So please, if you're interested in trying some of these exercises out with other guys, see the waitlist link below. And I'd love to hopefully over time develop a group of men that are kind of walking through these things together. So I'm hoping that this kind of experience is a small group experience of not more than 12 guys initially. And we're able to foster a sense of community and take some risks in being more vulnerable with people. So please take a look at that link below. Besides joining the group as maybe one way to build vulnerability in your life, today's challenge is to take the 36 questions that lead to love and actually implement it with somebody in your life. That's another way you can build that vulnerability. So practically look back over that list of allies you developed from day 11, I think it was. If you haven't already, write down a list of people you feel safe around or that you can begin to trust or take risks with in this way, and people who also you think could support your growth and your good life project. Once you have a list of people maybe in your mind, or hopefully you've written it down, choose one person from that list that you want to try this exercise with, and simply just reach out to them by text, phone call, whatever you want, and invite them to a conversation with you. And you can set it up by saying, I want to have this exercise I'm doing and I'd love to kind of do it with you. It should be fun, should be interesting. Would you mind taking 45 minutes to an hour to kind of ask each other some questions? It could be that simple. And then have a printout of the questions or have them on your phone and take the time to walk through it with them. And again, it's not something for romantic couples or partners just for that. It can be good for that. Like my example, I did that with my partner, but it even could be even more powerful with just friends or family members that you don't normally do these things with. It can feel very risky, I know. Even with people I think are open to this, sometimes it's just that initial barrier or obstacle of taking that risk with them. And once you get over that hurdle, that obstacle, that resistance, it's definitely worth the effort and has been very rewarding for me emotionally and to build these social connections. So I hope you can kind of step into this challenge and take the risk to do this. I did walk you through the basic steps of this. You'll see this online if you Google it, 36 questions that lead to love, or I'll provide a link below. They usually provide a list of instructions that go along with how to do this. But basically, you just take turns asking questions. Make sure that both of you respond, and you want to be very attentive when you're listening. And also the person who's asking you the question, you take turns asking each other the question, but you both respond to the same question. So set the tone by listening well and not thinking about what you're going to say as you're listening. And hopefully that will set the tone for the other person as well. A key point also is to don't rush. You want to linger in the conversation as much as possible, and then listen more than you talk. I think that's very important to, again, set the tone for the person. And that's it. I think it really shouldn't take more than an hour, but you could break it up into sets of questions if you want to just linger more. You could do the first set 1 week and then spread it out over a few weeks to foster that connection. You could also do it with groups, like I mentioned. So lots of options. But really, if you are serious about building your allies and tribe and moving into more accountability with them and support, this is an important step in that, is taking the time, the risk to reach out, but also to practice vulnerability with them. And then as a point of personal reflection afterwards, you can, in your Good Life project journal, you can maybe reflect on how it felt. How did it feel to share yourself and answer these questions with somebody? How did it feel to listen and to be close to somebody? And did it actually work? Did it actually help you feel more connected to somebody else? And what's the difference between this basic human connection you feel with maybe the cashier at the local grocery store versus somebody you're doing this exercise with? What's the difference there? Do you feel a difference? I think you will. The goal is that you will feel better about yourself, about life, and feeling better about your relationships if you do this. That's the hope anyways, that you will feel a greater sense of closeness with somebody by doing this. Let me begin to wrap up here for day 12 by saying that every strong tribe, every chosen family starts with two people willing to go deeper. That's where greater intimacy and closeness begins. The 36 questions that lead to love are just one doorway to facilitate this practice of vulnerability. The real transformation happens when you show up, when you listen, and allow yourself to be vulnerable and feel close to the other person. So tomorrow, after we've developed a better sense of closeness with our tribe, our allies, we're going to build on that and talk about accountability, how you can include other people in supporting you in your Good Life project. Until then, be sure to send that text, make that call, reach out to that one person on your allies list that you can go deeper with. It's definitely worth the effort, and in and of itself, just this one exercise can significantly boost your emotional well-being and may even help you get further along in finding greater meaning and purpose and direction in your life. Because the good life and the good love both begin with greater connection, with greater closeness. All right, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in day 13 tomorrow.